Welcome back to Casuals Corner, and today we're going to be breaking down the fight which this card has been based around. That is Derek Brunson versus Darren Till. You know the drill. If you enjoy the video, then please drop a like and a subscribe, as it really helps me to grow my channel. So right, let's jump into this. Like I said, this is the main fight this weekend, and this is the fight which everything's been based around. And as we know, there's a lot of English and a lot of British talent on this card, and it was meant to be in London. And I'll say it again, yes, I am gutted that I cannot be there, but anyway, let's have a look into it. So I think the main thing with this fight, which I've seen a lot, is how overlooked Derek Brunson's been. From the picks I've seen, from just general chat, from even title conversations, a lot of these conversations around Darren Till and Izzy. And I think a lot of people are overlooking Derek Brunson, and I think that's not a very good idea, because if his recent performances are anything to go by and his history is anything to go by, he cannot be overlooked at all. I think it's easy because at the top of the tree, and especially we consider Darren Till, we always consider him up there, and especially that loss that he just came off to Whittaker. I mean, it was like a more complicated version of the Queen's Gambit. It was an absolute chess match, that fight. And anyone that sort of watched it or is sort of a fan of MMA will know that it was a loss, but it wasn't really. And it was a very, very competitive fight and at such a high level. But because we regard him at the top of the tree like that, it's easy to think, okay, yeah, Derek Brunson lost to Izzy, he's lost to Whittaker, and he's going to lose to Darren Till. But if we have a look what Derek Brunson's been doing recently, he's been having an absolute tear, and he's been shutting down the people which are trying to climb to the top. And even though we've been talking about Darren Till for a long time, he still is that really in the middleweight division. He still is that young boy that has a lot of promise that isn't at the top yet, because if you look what he's done, I think he is a lot better than Shabazian, and I mean, he even said it the other day, than Shabazian, and also Kevin Holland he put a stop to as well. But you can't overlook that. And the thing is as well with Derek Brunson, he's an all-American wrestler. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He now trains out of Sanford MMA as well. So I imagine he's going to be rolling a lot of the time with Gilbert Burns as well. So I imagine his jiu-jitsu game's got even better. But he has an interesting style, Derek Brunson, because obviously it's not the prettiest on the feet. He does have nice striking because he has a nice left hand, and he has a lot of first round finishes as well with that left hand. And like I said, it isn't the prettiest, but because it's one of his main weapons, the old Bruce Lee quote, if you throw a punch 1,000 times once, and it's lost in my head, but you know what I'm getting at. And he throws this left hand so many times, and he's thrown it so many times in his career, that he's got such a nice understanding of it and such a nice understanding of range with it, that it often finds its target. And you can only go back to his most recent fights and have a look when he lands it, and you can really see he adjusts his body so well to plant himself in range and in a nice line for that left hand. So he's got that at his disposal. He's quite reckless coming forward, and this could work in his favour, or it potentially could work very much against him. We saw it against Whittaker that it worked very much against him, but he has a very chaotic style which sort of confuses their opponent. But usually when it's that higher level of striking, they can sort of see through that, and they can set traps, and they understand their distance and their range a little bit better, and they can negate that issue, as we've sort of seen against Whittaker and Izzy. So I think that's where he could be a little bit undone. But when it comes down to his wrestling, Derek Brunson is very, very good, and I think if he's going to have a path to victory, it's going to be through his wrestling. We know that Darren Till's got very good takedown defense as well, and he's not got bad wrestling himself. He's got 82% takedown defense, so we know he has that at his disposal. But what we've seen before with Derek Brunson, and even though if you look back to his other fights, if you look back to his most recent fight with Kevin Holland, yes, it wasn't the most exciting fight, but the blueprint is out there of how to shut people down who are good strikers, because let's not forget, Kevin Holland is a very, very legitimate striker. And we sort of saw that just mauling effect, just constant takedowns. Yes, they may be able to defend the first 5, but that's often why you see very good wrestlers with very low takedown accuracy. I think Derek Brunson's is something around like 20, tops 30, 33 it might be potentially. And the reason is not because they're bad at takedowns, is because they go for so many, because ultimately you're going to have to wilt. So I think that's something Darren Till has to be wary of, because I feel like that's going to be Brunson's path to victory, is being constantly pressuring him, constantly heavy, constantly trying to grapple. He's got nice sweeps, and he takes the back very nicely, but also he's very heavy on top. He sinks his hooks straight in, and he's just heavy on top. And I wouldn't be surprised if you turn around and said, okay, Derek Brunson is going to have a 4th round rear naked choke, even though he's got 1 on his record, I wouldn't be massively surprised with that, because I can see an opening maybe coming from that if he is able to implement that game plan, stay heavy on top, decent ground and pound, and look for an opening. But on the flip side to that, even though he's such a good jiu-jitsu player, good wrestler, and he's got some decent hands of himself, and I don't mean this in a biased way, but when I look at Darren Till, I do just think his striking is on a different level to Derek Brunson's. The way that he has this very sort of interesting like bounce on his front foot, and he uses it so cleverly as well, because not only does he bounce in when he's attacking, and he can be very quick in and out, and he can come in flurries and throw combinations, but also he uses it as a feint. So when you'll see him bounce in and then bounce out of range straight out of range as well. And you'll see that people will show their hand then. People will show what they're going to throw ready for that counter attack, because they think he's coming in because he does it so frequently, and then they'll show their hand, and then that gives him a nice read for next time. And then he's just very intelligent that way, Darren Till, as he sort of breaks down his opponents and plays with them in a way that he sort of finds what they're about to throw or find where they're going to go next, and then he adapts himself to that. And sometimes what you'll see as well is, like I said, as he bounces back out of range, as his opponents then drawn towards him, he sometimes will just plant his feet, and we saw it against Robert Whittaker as well, and he sort of draws them onto the shot using all their momentum. He stands still, plants his momentum as well, and we saw it with an elbow which dropped Whittaker. And I wouldn't be surprised if I saw something similar from Derek Brunson. I'm not sure if he's going to be reckless, but if he is and he sort of bombards forward, I think it's going to be the wrong decision. I think he's too experienced to do that, but I think if he does, I think Darren Till, you could see him at one point planting his feet and him walking onto like a nasty elbow, because he does have them at his disposal. So we know the level of Darren Till's striking. It is really that good. And when we talk about the striking in the middleweight division, we do think of Rob, Izzy and Darren Till, and that's usually why he's always in that title conversation. So it's a big win needed for Darren Till, but I definitely don't think he can look past Derek Brunson, because I think it's going to be a very, very difficult night out for him, because it's easy not to think of Derek Brunson just as the person that lost to Izzy. I know I sometimes think that as well, but he really is making a lot of adjustments to his game. I think he's becoming more polished, and I think he's becoming a lot more mature with his game as well, and knowing what's a good path to victory. We saw that over the Holland fight, so I wouldn't be surprised if he could get that off. But saying that, I think if he stuffs a few takedowns, Darren Till that is, and he gets Derek Brunson second guessing, I think then it has to be a Muay Thai match. And then as soon as that starts happening, Darren Till walks away with this. So I'm going to make a prediction out there. I'm going to say a 3rd round TKO victory for Darren Till. I think he can negate his takedowns. I believe that he can. I think he's got that in the locker. He can keep it standing, and then once he keeps it standing, it's a matter of time from there. And I think he needs a statement win as well to put him even more so in Izzy's mouth, even though that they're having these back and forths. And I think that he's going to do that. You can sort of tell in his interviews, he is hungry. He has very much locked himself away and has no external sort of factors coming into this fight. So I think he's in his best mental shape, and I think physical shape as well. And I think we're going to see an exciting fight, and I think Darren Till's going to show us the levels in that middleweight division tonight. Even though I think Brunson's fantastic, I think he'll get it done in 3, potentially 4, 4th round TKO. So as always, you know the drill. Get involved with the comments. I'd love to know what you think about the fight. Let me know your predictions so we can look back on it when the fight's done. Probably going to make a podcast on Sunday, so hopefully I have that out to you by Monday morning, if not the Sunday morning. And you know the drill. Hit the likes, hit the subscribe if you enjoyed it, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well for daily MMA content. Peace.